when you get in front of it, so big. It's actually bigger than the.
I got when I show you those apps, you'll kind of see some.
Yeah, it's
Um,
that's it right there.
Did you have a question?
I was going to say that I have smiled for a long time because the original critics of the iPad said that you couldn't create content on it. And I said, what a crock. You can create essentially anything that you want or need on the iPad, and in some respects at a fraction of the cost that you can with a laptop or a Mac Pro. There are people that use iMovie and sell their movies for money, and they're doing it on an iPad. The functionality on a whole bunch of levels is really limited to where your thinking is at. I mean, I still hear people say that you can't create content on it.
Right.
And I'm like, you need to get your head out of someplace dark because you can create all kinds of things with it.
Well, this particular presentation was done on Keynote,
Yeah.
and I did run into some problems doing it from there, so I went and did it on my computer and shot it to the clouds. And so that's.
I will say though,
So there,
having a big iPhone 6s and a mini, and formerly an iPad, which my wife has taken over right now. I think as I've used all the different devices, I find myself using the mini less because the big phone does a real nice job, even for reading, for that matter. And I've moved back to borrowing back the iPad Air from her because I like the bigger screen. I can only imagine how much nicer the big screen was. I did go into the store and look at it. I just haven't purchased it yet. I mean, side by side, I know you said it's like 1.5 iPad Airs, but it's like 2 minis in portrait mode side by side.
the picture on the screen
Yeah.
has two apps running at the same time.
And those are the equivalent of 2 minis.
Yeah.
Side by side. So, and with the big screen, this side by side certainly affords you much more flexibility and visual capability of handling 2 programs at once.
Well, here's, we run a lot of wireless mixers, and on the full-size iPad, you're swinging over this, because you got 32 channels going, and no show on one of the new ones. Because you can't, they're too small to run the sliders when you crunch that many sliders down and that much real estate. So for the people doing sound, these are gonna go viral. They're really, you could do a full mix, 32 channels on that new tab. That's pretty powerful.
And maybe, are you going to talk more about the software keyboard in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Larry, did you have a question?
Yeah, the iPad Pro actually has 2 connectors on it. It's got the Lightning and also the smart connectors on the side.
Yes. For the keyboard, you mean?
No, I'm talking about the first question about the USB adapter.
Those 3 little dots? I think I'm going to show it if that's what you're talking about.
No, earlier on you were talking about an adapter to put a
It would go through
USB stick.
where you charge.
I'm sorry?
My understanding, it will go through where you charge.
Yes.
Yeah. But there's no other opening that I know of, other than the headset.
But that adapter is out right now.
If you're telling me, I don't know. I've not heard that.
Okay.
Are you saying I can go to the Apple store and get one?
Yes.
Not heard that. These are the 2 apps running, like, and so you can look at 2 apps at the same time. If you have a regular iPad, you know how you read books or you're laying in bed at night and you have it, that's fine. You can hold it with one hand. The iPad Pro will get tiring after a while, so it's not good for that. If you're sitting on the couch, maybe in the living room, putting it on your lap, fine. And if your eyesight's not as good as it used to be, you can certainly blow up those letters quite a bit, and it looks perfectly clear. It does have a virtual keyboard, so you don't need to buy a keyboard. It's just like your present iPad. And it actually has more space than you would on your present iPad. So the keyboard's bigger, that helps out too. There it is on a stand that you might see at the Apple Store. There are two cases displayed at the Apple Store. This is one of them. Now, one drawback of this is that you cannot adjust this thing here. So it's always at that angle. That might be okay if you're at the desk. Maybe not okay if you're doing something else with it. Also, you'll notice that there's no function keys at the top of that keyboard. It's gotten that keyboard is $160. Oh, and by the way, it gets its juice from the iPad Pro. So no more syncing, no more batteries.
No Bluetooth.
Starts right away. No Bluetooth. Yes, it connects. I'll show you how it connects, and there's just basically just another picture of it.
I will say the magnets on that thing are
Very
unbelievable.
powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Very
It's
powerful.
not
Tenacious is the word.
something that's gonna snap off really.
Right here
Well, because he
are
moved
the
back.
three little connectors, and the magnets are right here. But anytime you get within 3 or 4 inches of that thing, and it pulls it right to it. There is no way that you can set that thing up. Matter of fact, on one of the YouTube things, they take the cover and open it up like this, and the iPad does not come out.
Right.
It's very strong. There it is up close. Can you see the?
Oh, yeah.
And there's three connect. I think it's the next bit. Yeah, there they are. That's what they look like on the side of the iPad. And as soon as you get anywhere close to those 3 connectors on that keyboard, sucks it right in.
I was just looking on the Apple site about this Lightning to USB. They have 2 products. One is basically for just hooking up to your computer and syncing. But they have another, and it's called the Lightning to USB camera cable. It's basically for transferring pictures from a camera to the iPad. I don't think there's anything out there right now, Larry, that'll allow you to hook a USB and actually read it through that port.
What makes me a little bit suspicious is I've not seen on any of their ads them talking about anything about the USB.
Because I see it's a little cable.
And I would
it's only
think
about
that
this
they
big.
would.
But it's basically, according to Apple's site, for getting pictures off your camera. It's in fact called the Lightning to USB camera adapter.
Well, they actually do have an adapter that has the SD card reader.
Right, that's yet another one. They do have one that you can put an SD card in as well. So that's what they have. Unfortunately, there's nothing that you could store like a Keynote.
I do have an iX expander. It's called a flash drive, and it has that special connection, and I can put PDFs, movies, and things like that in, and do that. But
Apple doesn't provide that.
yeah,
anymore.
I do have that. I didn't bring that with me, but I have something like that. Now, if you have the stylus, anytime you're looking at anything, very easy to mark up and then send somebody that photo or whatever you're doing. So I thought that was pretty neat.
It's a special stylus for the iPro, though. The old stylus wouldn't work, right?
I don't know. I wouldn't imagine the old stylus would come anywhere near the new one, because every ad I see and every review I see raves about that stylus.
Okay.
And by the way, I guess there's a battery in it, and if you need, oh, there it is right there.
Oh,
You take the cap off, and it's got a lightning connector. And my understanding is you put that in your iPad for 15 seconds and you have 30 more minutes of using it. If you leave it in there something like an hour, you have 30 days, 60 days, something like that. So it should last a long time.
I think the most unique thing about it, though, is how fine the tip is. Most other styluses you buy have that big rubber tip, and you just don't have the preciseness that the pencil will provide you.
And the more you press, I guess it gets bigger and it can detect that. One other thing, on one of the reviews, somebody wrote in and complained about it taking 15 seconds to recharge. So the comment from the next guy was, if your batteries ran low, you'd have to go replace batteries, and that surely would take more than 15 seconds, plus the cost of the batteries. So sometimes when you look at those reviews, they have some odd comments from people.
Oh, you don't know because you don't have it, but I mean, can you just use that to touch links and stuff, not just to
Yes.
mark up?
Yes,
I believe, yeah,
I used it in the store.
Yeah.
It works like any other old stylus, it just has the added capability to do little finer work and it's a pressure sensitivity.
What's to stop it from marking up when you tap on it?
Because it has wrist rejection, you know. What do you mean from?
Okay.
I mean, you can use a stylus for other things, but if you're doing drawing and you need.
Yeah, right.
You couldn't draw fine stuff like.
or you
showing
go
right
crazy
there.
like this guy, whatever he's doing.
One of the things you could do with stylus is, if you've never dealt with them much, is you can scale, just like you scale a mouse. So if you do a lot of drawing, you could have a little 1-inch square area of the tablet and draw across the whole tablet, not have to do like this. You can just sit and do it over in a corner and these things. It really speeds up when you're doing things.
When I was teaching school, my worst area was art. So you could give me any kind of stylus and I can't do anything with it that you'll see in some of the illustrations in a few minutes. And by the way, I forgot to say, if I were teaching school, this device here, now that they got the whiteboards, if you're familiar with what I'm talking about, that would be a wow factor. I'm not kidding. It moves along so fast and you can go from one app to the next. It would be a real wow factor.
By the way, the pencil does have a couple other features. When you go in the Apple store, they have it in a nice little, like, long stand that's concave, so it doesn't, you know, just roll off to the wherever it goes. But it normally, I played with it, and it doesn't roll. It has a weight in it.
Yeah.
That if you just set it down and just tap it, it's not going to start rolling across the table. It has a self-centering thing that it stays put.
One of the cons they mentioned is that the iPad Pro has no a holder for the stylus, as if you'd lose one. And I'm probably on my 5th now, by the way. I go to a coffee place or something, I forget I have it.
Those cons are brought up by the people
I know.
that use this Microsoft Surface, because big deal, they got a magnet on the side. To me, if you just have this in a thing that's connected to the outside of your stylus, you're probably more likely to lose it in the long run. than
Got to remember
put
to
in your
take it
pocket.
home with you.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I lost those other styluses, I lost about a $9 stylus. I wouldn't want to lose a $99 stylus. Now, this is the case that I bought, and let me point out the reason I think, if you're in the market for one, the difference here. At the top, it has the function keys, which the other, and it's $20 cheaper.